No longer have any atheists with a spine. Anybody have any questions about atheism versus theism, Christianity versus atheism? You can find one from the past week.
So, Darth, do you have any argument that necessitates the truth of your worldview?
Yeah, that God revealed himself, and the impossibility thereof is impossible.
Yeah, but then of course I'm gonna reject.
Yeah, I'm gonna temporarily humor you, but the moment you resort to your past bad behavior of just being an argumentative clown, I'm gonna server mute you. Okay?
Yeah. So you can serve me whenever you want.
Yeah. Well, I told you is if you become argumentative, as you have a long history of doing. Okay? The argument for God is his revelation of himself through natural and special revelation, which cannot be denied, and the denial therein defended. Now, I couldn't give any other answer than that, because any other answer than that, other than appealing to God's revelation, would be fallacious. We can only go ahead.
Are these beliefs
you're roboting
in effect?
You're roboting.
Could you hold the same set of beliefs in a world where you're just a brain? Okay, well, never mind then.
Could I hold the same beliefs in a world? Well, they couldn't be the same beliefs. Okay.
Yeah, can you defend that claim that they could not be?
Superficially they might be, but in actuality they wouldn't. Okay.
How would you distinguish these two scenarios?
How would I distinguish that?
That's a separate question as to whether they would be the same or not.
Yeah.
It is a separate question. Is that a problem to ask another question?
I would distinguish the two, because in the world that God created, he would make me to know certain things that I couldn't deviate from. Okay.
Why could a vet not do that to you? So why could you not be a brain in a vet, and you've just been fed this information by some other source other than a God?
Because that would be, well, first of all, a brain in a vat would be positing a different worldview, okay, than the Christian worldview. No other worldview other than the Christian worldview can be instantiated and defended. What, interestingly enough, is I don't understand why you're positing that if that's not your worldview. If you don't accept the Christian worldview, your non-acceptance would be in virtue of what your worldview is. But you wouldn't posit that you're a brain in a vat, because then you couldn't ground anything.
Well, with an internal critique, you can show that there's some contradiction.
Okay. Yeah, you can only do an internal critique of other worldviews because you're reasoning out of another worldview.
But an external critique can still.
You can only do. Yeah, you would still have to posit
to
that there's a world.
To critique at all in any way,
yeah.
You'd have to have a worldview.
Yeah, in order to critique, you're going to have to predicate, and that's going to require a model of reality.
Yeah, so the model of reality I'm predicating is that you're a brain in a vat, and I don't think you have an answer to the question of how you.
But you're not actually predicating that.
Yeah, Darth being a brain in a vat is impossible.
You don't actually believe that.
That's irrelevant, right? An external critique.
No, it is. Okay, good. Then I'll play that game. Everything you say, I'll just say it's irrelevant.
Yeah, that's fine. You can do that.
Yeah. Everything you say, I'll just say, well, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
Yeah, that's fine. So am I correct in understanding that your worldview?
No, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
some sort of hypothetical.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah, that's fine. You can say that. I'm still making.
That's irrelevant. Yeah, it's irrelevant.
So your worldview cannot go against.
That's irrelevant.
Right. That's
irrelevant.
Childish.
That's irrelevant.
Okay. Well,
I can play that game too.
Yeah, I know.
You might as well just terminate the conversation, Darth. If you're just going to say what you say.
I think it's clear that he doesn't have an answer to these questions anyway.
So. Well, that's irrelevant.
Just mute me, and
No, actually, I have given you an answer that unless you acknowledge the revelation of God in creation, well, that's irrelevant. Which He has also given sovereign. No, actually, I have given you an answer that unless He reveals you acknowledge that the Christian world, the revelation of God is in creation, well, that's irrelevant. Which He has also given sovereign. No, actually, then everything else is futile, because then there will be no way to establish facts, their actuality, nor their intelligibility. Okay? Now, you want to believe that you can do so without God. Okay? Now, the first thing what you got to do is, since you don't accept the Christian worldview, what I'd like to know is, how is it that there is no God? Do you have an answer to that?
Well, that's not the topic at hand, right? We're talking about...
Actually, the topic was at hand because I asked any atheist to step up to defend their atheism. Okay? In order to challenge the actuality of the Christian worldview, you can only do it one way. There's only one way that you can challenge the Christian worldview. Okay?
Oh, that's your position, right? That's not my position.
No, let me tell you why. There's only one way. There's only one way to challenge any worldview, okay? And that is by instantiating a worldview that contradicts the worldview you're refuting.
So you're saying an internal critique is not a valid...
The internal critique, the internal critique has to be done under the auspices of your worldview.
Yeah, that's nonsense. That's not what it means to be...
You're not understanding. Can you utter an intelligible proposition without it being specific to a worldview?
No. But I'm using your worldview, right? To show
okay, so in order to do an internal critique, you're going to have to utter propositions. But the propositions that you utter have to be specific to a worldview. Otherwise, they don't mean anything.
Yes, but an internal critique takes...
listen very carefully.
Stop being a little
child. If I do an internal critique of Islam, okay, yeah, we're not going to keep doing this. First of all, your connection is terrible. Okay?
He doesn't even want to hear it.
Yeah,
he doesn't even want to hear it.
You're doing what you have... Okay, you know what? Fix your connection. Your connection's terrible. Okay? See, this guy just doesn't get it. I mean, I've interacted with him on I don't know how many dozens of occasions, and every time it's the same thing. The guy's a broken record. Okay, he's just argumentative. Okay, he doesn't debate. He's just argumentative about everything. Well, we have any other atheists? Anybody else want to challenge the Christian worldview?
He doesn't understand that in order to critique a worldview, you have to be reasoning from another worldview. Because if you were reasoning from the worldview that you were trying to critique, you would just accept the worldview.
Yeah. In order to critique anything, there must be some viable worldview where critiquing is viable. Critiquing something requires background information.
And you can't be using the background information of the worldview you're critiquing.
Suppose
because otherwise you couldn't critique it.
Suppose he critiques inside the Christian worldview and he says, well, you see, this aspect within the Christian worldview doesn't pass the smell test. It's a contradiction, right? Well, that means that there has to be a worldview where contradictions are off limits, and that the putative contradiction within the Christian worldview would be inconsistent with that. So whatever parameters you're going to use to do an internal critique, those parameters have to exist in some worldview. Okay?
I have a question that I asked you this, some time ago, but I don't think you got.
Yeah, and I'll just give you this warning. I've dealt with you on dozens of occasions, and if you too do not up your game in terms of adult interaction, you will be server muted so fast your HUD will spin. Okay? Oh, Tangelo, you have an open mic.
Oh yes, I'll just close it.
Go ahead, Murphy. Just remember my warning, okay? Because I have a history with you, and I'm dead serious. If you try your usual tactics, okay, where you're just argumentative, I welcome vigorous debate. I enjoy it because it helps me shine the spotlight of truth on Christianity. But if you're going to do your usual antics that you usually do, that's going to be a no-go. So go ahead, Murphy.
Right. So the question is, if someone had like a worldview that, for example, I don't know, like let's say the worldview was there's this paper and the paper says that the paper is correct, and they can just derive the paper says other things like other minds exist and logic is,
Yeah, this is the old napkin argument. Yeah. It's the napkin worldview. Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm asking, what is the issue with this worldview if someone had it?
How does that establish what is ultimate? See, in a worldview, you're going to need an ontology and epistemology. Okay, how are you going to ground the ontology that the napkin represents?
Ontology of what, like the universe or something? Like the reality of the universe?
Okay. Are the words on the napkin intelligible?
Yeah.
Okay, what is the ontology that provides for that?
Let's say the universe necessarily makes it so that languages.
Are you arguing for this?
I'm asking if someone had that view, what would be the issue with it?
I would just say it's sophistry.
Why?
It's why? Because they're making up something in order to avoid the exclusivity of the Christian worldview. That the Christian worldview is indispensable for ontology and intelligibility. So what they're doing is they're trying to do a really childish, adolescent parody of what they think the Christian position represents. It's sophistry. It's called the napkin worldview. You can actually see memes of it on Google.
But that would
why don't you just be transparent here? Do you accept the Christian worldview?
Well, but I just want to understand what you know about this. I don't want to.
I just told you because it's sophistry. I've already refuted it. It has.
Well, I have a response.
It has no ontology.
But I have a response. I mean, when you say that they're making up like a worldview as a parody, that just assumes that they don't actually believe it. I'm asking if someone actually did believe it, what would be the issue? If someone did like genuinely hold this position,
that they didn't take their meds.
Wait, what's the issue with the position?
I already told you. There's no ontology. What's the ontology?
Irrational.
What's the ontology?
Let's say that they say that the universe is just like necessarily logic. The universe just exists.
Okay.
Necessarily.
Then so what they're saying that reality is ultimate?
Yeah.
Okay, they just shot themselves in the head philosophically, because then all they're just simply saying is the set of all real things, that each discrete entity in the set of all real things is just what it is in a given time index, and it doesn't mean that it will continue or stay that way. So in other words, it's just stuff just happens. There would be no rhyme or reason to anything. This is why when I ask the question, what is it that's ultimate, that imposes and secures what is, can be, and cannot be for each member of the set of all real things? Somebody goes, reality. Because all you're just simply saying, each member of the set of all real things is what it is.
Well, then maybe I shouldn't have said reality. What if someone says, like, the laws of physics, so there is this universe and it necessarily exists, and then, like, the laws of physics in the universe and the way things operate is necessarily how things are.
Nobody who believes that the laws of physics are ultimate, who advocates for that. That would be a disaster for them, because first of all, you can't have a plurality of things that are discrete from one another and for them to be ultimate. In order to be ultimate, it's going to have to be something that is singular, and that everything else that is not the ultimate depends and derives on the ultimate. You can't have a plurality of things, even if they are deemed to exist absolutely within themselves, that there are other things that are absolute and exist in themselves, because then you can't say the set is ultimate. That would not be coherent. Because the set, it means that it is, to be ultimate means that you are eternal, absolute, unconditionally non-dependent, and independent of everything that is not itself, and everything else that is not the ultimate depends and derives on the ultimate. Okay, so you couldn't posit coherently that a plurality of things that you want to call laws of nature are ultimate. That would not be coherent. Now, the only reason why people think it is because they haven't carefully thought through it or heard rebuttals to that.
Well, are you saying that the definition of ultimate includes being singular?
Like yes.
It has. But
yes.
Why couldn't? What's the issue with believing that there are many? Let's not call them ultimates, but let's call them things.
Peers? You mean peers?
You're not understanding. Because, look, imagine we had 3 cubes. Okay. Just as a thought experiment. Okay.
Okay.
We have 3 cubes. It could be 3 marbles. It could be anything. All right. And each cube is absolute within itself. It's unconditionally non-dependent. It's non-derivative. It's always existed. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Now, we have the second cube is also absolute and non-dependent, and the third likewise. Now, the set is a conceptualization. It's an abstraction. It doesn't exist. The set doesn't exist. The 3 separate things exist in and of themselves, but the set is an abstraction.
They have nothing to do with each other.
And abstraction cannot be ultimate. You're reifying the set. Do you know what reifying is? You're taking an abstraction, a mental conceptualization, in order to get a handle on it mentally, to talk about certain things, and you're reifying it. You're turning it into something that's concrete and not an abstraction. An abstraction doesn't mean it's a fantasy. So you can't have a plurality of things as a set being ultimate, because there's nothing that concretely unifies each members of the set. As Parakeet said, they would just simply be peers. You need something that is concrete, that unifies all the plurality.
They actually wouldn't even be peers, because peers includes the concept that you have something to do with each other. Right, that you're related in some way.
They would right. To be peers, there would have to be some level of actual unification. So this is why appealing to a plurality of things cannot be ultimate. It's not coherent.
What if someone appeals to a singularity?
What if someone appeals to unity?
Okay. Tangelo, please wait. Go ahead, Murphy.
What if someone believes in a singularity, not like 3 things or not many things, just believes in one thing, but that thing is just not conscious, there isn't a mind? What's the issue with that? And they use the paper thing again. They make an argument for
if it's not an agent, a person, okay, then you could never identify that it exists.
Why?
How could you?
Well, the paper says that it exists.
No, you're not understanding. Okay. Where's there a connection between words on the paper and this singularity? What's the connection?
I mean, I don't know. You can just pause it. They can just pause at something. Like, for example.
No. You see, this is the desperation that you unbelievers in. You are so craven in your rebellion against the God that you know that you will make up the worst kind of shit and push it off as a ham sandwich.
Wait, Darth, I just want to know whether. I'm just telling you,
there's no relationship. How do letters on a piece of paper? How is there any relationship or connection between that and what is ultimate?
Let's say that the paper says it's a necessity.
You're not understanding. There must be a causal relationship. How do you even know? How do the words on the paper indicate the ultimate?
Well, so the way that they would be.
Did the ultimate reveal the piece of the words on the paper?
No. The idea is
good. Then there's no connection between the words on the paper and the ultimate.
What if someone says?
Okay, so stop for a second. You need to focus on my rebuttal. Okay. There's now no relationship, okay, between the paper and the ultimate.
It doesn't matter what they say then.
The ultimate because it's non-conscious. If something is not an agent, it can't engage in revelation. You understand?
I agree with that.
Good. Then you can stop with the paper. Now the question is this, is how do you establish and defend that the ultimate exists? And if you refer back to the napkin, I'm going to server meet you.
Wait, but I have a rebuttal to what you said. Do you want to hear it?
How do we establish this ultimate, that it is?
Well, the paper says it.
Okay, I warned you. Bye-bye. That's already been addressed several times. See you later. You want to pull your ultimate... See, this is what they do, folks. Okay? He was not muted because I merely did... No. So he was not muted because I didn't like what he said. He was warned ahead of time when he started off not to do his argumentative tactics, which is to repeat the same objections over and over and over and over and over again when they have been systematically rebutted and a counter rebuttal has not been provided. So he's wasting my time. Okay? I warned him ahead of time what the rules are, and he broke the rules. Okay? He is not dialoguing in good faith. I already explained to him why you can't appeal to the piece of paper, okay? Because there's no causal relation between the ultimate and the paper in terms of a revelational context, okay? The paper may exist ontologically from this ultimate, but there's no revelational connection between the two, okay? So you see, this is how craven these unbelievers are, that they will just lie about this stuff.
He's trying to do a parody of the Christian worldview. He thinks that that because he's parodying he thinks we establish God's existence merely by assertion, by baseless assertion. So that's what he's doing. He's baselessly asserting, well, it just is because the paper says it, even though there's no justified connection.
I'm going to play an audio clip of an atheist actually doing the very thing that Murphy is trying to pull across. Give me a second. Okay, I'm going to play this quick clip for you, and it exemplifies how craven and to what extent atheists will lie to avoid the God that they know. They will make up crap and try to do a parody of the Christian worldview. Now, this audio clip of this atheist, he identifies himself as Tyler in a public forum. I met Tyler 10 years or so ago on Pal Talk. 6 or so months after, or maybe 10 months, after he made this appearance questioning a Christian apologist, I questioned him about his ultimate authority, how he knew things, and he finally admitted that his mind and his mind alone was the ultimate authority to discern and determine what the world is. I then confronted him with this videotape. Like, okay, hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. Okay, where was I? Anyone here? Mic working?
Yeah,
I can hear you, Darth. Yeah.
Where did I leave off?
Something about some dude named Tyler.
Ah, yes. Okay. Okay, so I confronted Tyler about his BS, and he admitted he was lying. Okay? And this is a great object lessons about how atheists will lie to avoid the God that they know. Okay, so you can actually see, hold on. Okay, if you look in I'm going to live stream this, okay? Somebody let me know if there's any audio problems, okay? Okay, I'm going to play it. And this just goes to show you what liars atheists are.
So go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Tyler from right here in Memphis. And you said that all views that don't make mention of God reduce to absurdity. So for the sake of this discussion, I am a presuppositional atheist, and I look forward to you showing how the following is absurd, which I will assert without evidence. There is a force out there that is all-powerful but not conscious. It validates inductive reasoning, it validates logic, and it reveals to us all that God does not exist. Show how that is absurd.
Let me try something.
Yeah, we could hear it from your mic and from the video.
What is that force, and how do you know about it?
It's just there.
What's going on here?
It was working now.
It's out there.
Yeah, how do you know about it?
There's still
It revealed
itself to me.
Okay,
so it's a personal revealing force?
No, not personal. It just instills me with the knowledge.
How does it do that?
I don't know. It just does.
So you're talking about some force that reveals knowledge to you such that you can know for certain?
Yes, and it's not conscious.
You know what I say? Speak into the microphone, sir. See what it takes to reject the God that all of you know exists.
Can you illustrate the absurdity, though?
Yes, I can. I just say speaking to the microphone.
Sorry.
I don't believe in those types of revelations.
In other words, you're presenting the absurdity right now. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
When he says, "How do you know? How did it reveal?" and you go, "I don't know." We're telling you.
So does my ignorance of that illustrate absurdity?
Is that what you believe? That is what you believe?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Did you hear that? Is that what you believe? He says, absolutely. He admitted to me months later he was lying through his teeth. Okay? This is typical of atheists.
So are you telling me...
I know it, in fact.
hang on a second. So are you telling me that atheism cannot account for truth?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, you just admitted to.
So you're saying that there must be some force to reveal, because without that force, you can't know anything. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay, that's fine.
That's perfect, and that's exactly the point of the atheist worldview. That honest atheist will admit.
You might not call it a god, but you're.
No, but I just illustrated that it's not conscious, so it can't be a god.
How can something that's not conscious reveal
it just
truth
does.
to you? It just does.
It just does.
All right. Thanks.
So
and listen to him double down on his lies.
Making up, you're postulating an absurdity that you yourself don't even believe in.
No, I believe it.
You hear that? He says you're postulating an absurdity that even you do not believe in it. So he's lying, and now he's going to say, "Oh no, I believe it, and so do you." And so he's gonna lie about lying. Listen,
that you yourself don't even believe in.
No, I believe it, and in fact, you believe it too.
Right.
That's fine.
I see what you did there.
Hey, if you want to hitch your wagons to that star, I wouldn't advise it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments?
The voices were really similar.
What do you mean? Similar to what?
Each other.
Well, anyway, this just goes to show you that they cannot refute, they cannot successfully deny the Christian worldview, so they will make up crap trying to do a sophist parody of the Christian worldview. That's how craven atheists are.
Well, I wanted to mention something. Obviously, these when they do these parodies, they're not their actual worldview. So the first thing to note is they're using a worldview body double, right? And even if you rebut their parody,
can you repeat that and slightly unpack that? Repeat again what you just said.
I just said that they're using
body double,
a worldview body double. They're protecting their worldview from analysis by presenting one they don't even believe to be true.
So it's a stunt worldview.
Yeah. And so even if you rebut the body double worldview, it's not going to matter to them, right? Because they'll just say, well, I didn't even believe that anyway. So, who cares? But the second thing to note is that what they are doing, and it's interesting, is they are actually taking some of the Christian God's properties and attributes and creating a fictional worldview using them, because they recognize that if you add any of the Christian God's attributes, it becomes more difficult to show how that worldview is absurd. Now, of course, you still can, because their worldview won't have all the attributes of the Christian God. But the point is that they're acknowledging that they have to have some of these attributes. But then they'd have to explain why their actual worldview doesn't have those. But the third thing to note is that upon interrogation of this fictional worldview, it'll only end in one of two ways. Either they will eventually transform the ultimate of their world into an exact copy of the Christian God, right? They'll continuously alter his properties and attributes until he actually is the Christian God, and there is no difference. Or they'll insist that there's one or more attributes that's different, and whatever one of those attributes. Sorry, did you catch the end of what I said?
Cut out for me too.
Where did I cut out? My screen shut off on my phone.
And if you something the attributes.
Did I mention that either they will
Well, that's all just inaudible too.
Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
So eventually, there's only two ways it can end with their worldview body double. That's an imitation of the Christian worldview. Either they'll alter all the attributes of this ultimate, whatever it is, to be an exact imitation of the Christian God, in which case they are actually talking about the Christian God, and they're conceding that the Christian worldview is the only one that they'll say. Then they'll be saying, show how the Christian the actual Christian worldview is absurd, which you couldn't, right? So they'd be conceding to the Christian worldview, or they'll insist that one or more of the attributes of this ultimate, their worldview, are different than the Christian God, in which case any one of those attributes that's not the same will render their world absurd.
So the refutation of the body double worldview would be the same line of reasoning that will go after their worldview. So it doesn't matter whether they try to present their worldview or the body double worldview as a diversionary tactic. The same refutation, the same weaponry, if you will annihilate either one, either that
they don't have the properties.
So
that they don't have the properties of the Christian God.
So the refutation of the body double worldview will equally refute that person's worldview. So
that's true, but the only exception is that they drag out the conversation for an hour.
Yeah.
And then they say at the end, oh, shucks, I didn't even care anyway. That wasn't my worldview.
Yeah, so the real reason is this is just a diversionary tactic, okay? Rather than say, I don't accept the Christian worldview, and then be transparent, here are my grounds why I believe in my worldview, and my worldview falsifies the Christian worldview. So rather than do that, they use a worldview body double. Parakeet's spot on there.
And the body double can only end in one of two ways, the same as their worldview.
You see, because if they don't believe in Christianity, then, or since they don't believe in Christianity, the Christian worldview, then what is the reason or purpose of offering the body double? And that is just simply as a diversionary tactic to stall, dodge, and delay accepting Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior and as Creator.
Did you know Jesus was some kind of stonemason, not necessarily a carpenter?
When I studied it in the past, it could refer to somebody who was a builder of a home. Okay.
Right.
But I don't think it really doesn't matter.
No, I mean, it's interesting because he's always talking about stone things in some of the parables and other stories.
The thing is that once Christians wake up and smell the coffee, that a mere piecemeal evidentialism is catering right into the whims of unbelievers. We're catering to their false beliefs, whereas a biblical presuppositionalism is simply a presentation of biblical theology. Okay? A biblical apologetic is literally biblical theology, and that it's apologetic in terms of the audience that it's presented to, okay? But it's nonetheless just simply exemplifying biblical theology and how it applies.
I'm just waiting for one day when someone comes and uses one of these worldview body doubles and says, well, my worldview is all the same properties and attributes of the Christian God, except I'm calling him John. Can you show how that's absurd? And of course you can't, because that's the Christian worldview by a different name, right?
Yeah. Well,
so they're saying, can you show how the Christian worldview is absurd?
Yeah, an atheist philosopher tried that with William Lane Craig. Let me see if I can play it for you.
Oh, the guy who says a computer and then he gives it all the properties and attributes of God.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what his name was, like Walport.
So it's supposed to be a worldview body triple, but it's actually a worldview body single.
Yeah, someone could be like, well, what if I had a worldview but then from that worldview, I body double another worldview. So it's like a nesting doll worldview type situation.
Sort of how like three rights make a left.
All right, I have the video. I found it quickly for one. Okay, this is Lewis Walport, and he tries a worldview body double. Okay, I don't know if I have it queued at the right spot, but I'm in the general time frame. So this is how William Lane Craig shows this guy for a fool.
Well, presumably, well, yeah, all right. He created the whole thing. Yeah. You haven't got a better explanation of why the universe came. Well, you don't know. You said so.
Sorry, there's nothing to be ashamed about admitting ignorance. I don't understand the Big Bang. I vaguely, I've discussed it with people. And if there are things that we don't understand, we just have to say we don't know. You don't have to invent mystical creatures in order to do it.
See, here again is the pejorative here. It's debating by insult. Now, I for one am not against insult if it's on the tail end of a powerful refutation and somebody shows stupidity on full display. But he says mystical creatures. Well, he's begging the question that God is a mystical creature. It's the same thing as saying, you don't have to invent superstition, right? So in other words, there is no identifiable ultimate behind when we talk about laws of nature and reason and sense perception, right? Well, if you're not inventing a mystical creature, then what is it that imposes this stuff if it's not something mystical, right? You see, this is the sleaziness of atheists, and it's really adolescent kind of reasoning. But listen to what this guy says.
You don't have to invent mystical creatures.
Sorry, no.
You don't have to invent mystical creatures.
No, I don't think you do. I just think you have to say you don't know and keep on trying to find out, and maybe we'll never find out.
And if you found it was a supernatural being?
Oh, I'd be absolutely shocked, but I would change my mind. But I need to think a tiny bit of evidence would be a very good beginning.
He's offered you evidence.
No, that's not evidence.
Certainly, there's more than a...
Now, is Walport here going to explain why all the facts that he's acquainted with do not, in fact, necessitate an ultimate that is a mind, God? Is he going to do that? No, he won't. He'll just say, the world around us, it's not evidence for God, you see. You say, well, how did you determine that? Well, you haven't proven your case, have you? No, well, you haven't established that it's not evidence, yes.
Darth, let me ask you, because a lot of the atheist community want to know, are you on here to, humiliate them, or, you just want to bring them closer to God? What is your purpose?
I'm trying to show them the absolute bankruptcy and utter foolishness of their God denialism. Okay, they have to be brought. Okay, you know what? How shall I put this to you? Have you ever heard about intervention with people who are druggies and alcoholics?
Yes.
Okay, so people who passionately reject Christianity, atheists who reject Christianity, what I'm doing is a kind of spiritual intervention where they have to hit rock bottom before they realize their utter foolishness, okay? That's a kind of theme in rehab and in interventions, okay?
Right.
That people will tend not to give up their drugs or their alcohol until they hit absolute rock bottom, and then they wake up and smell the coffee. Well, that's kind of what I'm doing with atheists. I'm showing them that any objection that they make whatsoever ends catastrophically for them, philosophically, metaphysically, that it is patently, they will fall into the abyss of the absurd when they refuse to acknowledge God as creator and sustainer of all things, and that he is the grounds not only for why everything exists, he is the grounds for why there is any intelligibility of anything. But you see, they have been accustomed
the abyss of irrationality.
The abyss of irrationality and absurdity. Thank you. That was a good qualification. Right? So they're so accustomed to evidentialism, going, oh, look at the fine tuning, look at the beauty and the fine tuning of the animal kingdom, and they go, See, all they will simply do is they will rationalize everything away. They will violate their own probabilistic reasoning when they accept evolution and that this world just happened by fortuitous, materialistic occurrences, right? I'm trying to show them the absolute foolishness and irrationality of their own position on its own terms, and then they will realize that there is only one hope for everything, and that is in the lordship of Jesus Christ, not only as Redeemer, but as Creator and God and Lord over all. So will that result in their humiliation? Yes, it will. And when they're utterly humiliated, then when they hit rock bottom, metaphysically speaking, they will now see their need to acknowledge the actuality that this world was constructed by God to reveal himself and through special revelation. And if they refuse to do that, they're going to remain in an utter state of humiliation and irrationality and absurdity. Okay? So it's a form of getting them to realize they're at rock bottom metaphysically. They're blowing smoke. Watch, I'm going to finish playing the clip, and you're going to see how irrational this atheist is. Just listen.
Than a tiny bit of evidence on the table that the universe began to exist.
That's total speculation.
Oh, so he's against total speculation. So when he talks of when he spews out words that he thinks has meaning and intelligibility, that all requires the reality of matter, energy, okay, identity over time, the regularity of nature. Well, what imposes that's real? And all he's going to be able to come up with is speculation. But you see, he doesn't care about speculating. He just likes to slime people with an opposing worldview as speculation. But his own worldview is not speculation. Oh, yes, it is. You got an open mic, Parakeet.
Well, he's against speculation, but get a load of what he's going to do next.
Oh, yeah. Wait till you hear the BS, the speculative BS that comes out of his mouth.
So let me have a mouth. Darth, let me have a mouth. Like, what I'm trying to say here is, like, the atheists, some atheists I've spoken to, right? They don't like the way you, like, communicate with them. They feel like you just trying to...
I don't like the way they communicate with me. That's why they don't like the way I communicated with them, because they engage in trolling tactics, right. and they have bad behavior, and I confront their bad behavior with my own aggressive and assertiveness, and they don't like that. Okay, I've been talking in this room. Let me just interrupt for a second. I'll give you plenty of time.
Go ahead.
I have been interacting with a number of people in here the last couple of hours, many of whom were conducting themselves in an absolute adult and dignified manner. I didn't shout them down. I didn't mute them. Okay, there were a couple of people that decided they wanted to go off the rails into being deceitful, and they got muted. But the people who weren't engaging in just deception and were just simply disagreeing, none of them, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't call them names. They didn't get muted. So the atheists are full of crap. Now, at times, do I get a wee bit too irritated or angry? Sure. Do sometimes I say some coarse words that I shouldn't say and that I apologize? Yes, I do.
Darth,
go ahead.
Darth. Like, listen, I've been listening to you since 2017. No disrespect, you're an asshole, but, like, I like it, though. I like it.
Okay, on what grounds? On what ground? Are you an atheist?
No, I'm not.
Okay, on what grounds do you say I'm an a-hole?
I mean, like, you could come across like a bit like intimidating, right? So on that ground.
Yeah, I am going to be intimidated because the defense of the faith is intimidating.
Right.
The defense of the faith is intimidating. I'm confronting these people with their absolute foolishness in denying God revealing himself in all of creationists. It is intimidating. I agree with you. So why am I an a-hole if I'm intimidating?
I mean, like, listen, at the end of the day, like, I'm not here to debate Darth. I'm just saying, like,
I'm waiting for you to answer why I'm an a-hole. Oh, because I'm intimidating? So what?
Yeah, exactly.
Why is that a bad thing?
I never said it was a bad thing.
Well, yes, you did. I said, why am I? You said I was an a-hole, right?
No, but I never said it was a bad
thing. No, did you say? Hold on a second. Did you say I'm an a-hole?
Yes.
Okay, so that means that there's something about that's inappropriate.
No,
actually, he said you're an a-hole, but he likes it.
Yeah, I did. I said I liked it.
Then you shouldn't say a-hole, because a-hole is pejorative.
Okay.
Then you should use another choice of words.
All right, you're right. I might need going forward.
Now listen. You called me an a-hole, okay?
Right.
But you see, you didn't do it as a drive-by scumbag. You said it to me in a stand-up adult way, and then I question you about it, and I'm not screaming at you. I'm not muting you.
We're having an adult conversation, Darth.
That's right. And you insulted me. I didn't get bent out of shape, and I confronted you about it.
Exactly.
But when we get drive-bys up by in here where they heckle, they troll, okay, I don't take kindly to that. You know what's funny? Atheists behave very badly on a regular basis on many servers. And you hear the atheists complaining about that?
Yes, sometimes they do also say that to them. I mean, I've seen...
Rarely.
For example, but for example, I've seen they calling out Leophilius because he overtalks, things like that.
Well,
and they came to me.
That's because he's unhinged.
Yes, but what I want to say is that it is not that they never call them out themselves. Sometimes they do.
It's rare.
Okay, it is rare. I agree with that, but it happens.
Okay, so let's continue with the rest of it. So we're going to see how Walpert here is doing the very thing he accuses Christians of.
The Astronomer Royal, Martin Rees, would beg to differ with you.
Well, he can beg if he wishes, and I like Martin very well.
You got to admit, this fool of an atheist is funny, but he's stupid.
In his book, Just Six Numbers, Martin Rees says
I know Martin
that,
well.
yes, well, and he says that the modern cosmology is as firmly established a science as the geology of the Earth. Yes. This is not a matter of airy-fairy speculation.
Can I just... Now we're back into the constants again. And
no, this is Big Bang, not fine-tuning. We're talking about now.
So what's
his book was on fine-tuning, but he makes this statement in the course of...
What, that the Big Bang must have been caused by someone?
No, that the...
I bet he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
No, he takes an agnostic attitude as far as I know.
Well, that's good. That's at least...
What he actually said, what Martin Rees actually does, as far as I can tell, and it's above most of us mere mortals, I think, so it's above me anyway, is he speculates on this possibility of the multiverse and the idea of what's that ghastly film in which we're all just in a computer, The Matrix, isn't it?
Right.
And he says we just could be kind of players in a... You and I argued this morning about the chess game. We used an analogy that eventually to the sand. My fault that. It was a hopeless analogy to begin with. But the Matrix one isn't bad, and he conjectures that this designer is kind of playing a computer game, really, and we're one of a million, a billion, a trillion universes. And it just kind of happens that way. As far as I'm concerned, I've read a bit of what he said. I don't recall him saying God did all that.
Oh, no, not at all.
And he certainly didn't get into Jesus as being
certainly not. I was simply saying that this is not a mere matter of speculation, that there's more than a tiny bit of evidence on the table.
But he's saying
evidence for what?
Evidence for a beginning of the universe.
Yes, we know that. Nobody disputes
that. Well, that's what I'm offering in this first argument, is the evidence.
But because the beginning doesn't imply a God.
It does if the first premise is true, that whatever begins to exist has a cause. It logically follows.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But the cause hasn't got to be God.
Well, remember, I gave an argument for thinking that this cause is timeless, spaceless, immaterial, enormously powerful, and personal.
I think it's a computer.
Well, that wouldn't. Computers are designed by people.
No, this is a self-design.
Now, notice he's totally bullshitting here. He doesn't believe this at all. He's simply positing this grotesque speculation, something he doesn't even believe in order to avoid God as an explanation of why anything exists. And watch William Lane Craig smoke this arrogant clown.
Designing computer.
Timeless.
Timeless.
Well, that's a contradiction in terms.
Why is it timeless? What's contradictory about it?
A computer has to function. It takes
time. No, this is a special computer.
Yeah, but it has to be logically coherent.
Oh, it's logically coherent?
Yes, you have to be logically coherent.
Oh, no, this computer is amazing.
No, besides, it would have to be, as I said, a personal being.
No,
A computer is a physical
Not this computer.
object.
Oh,
well, then,
no.
Okay, see, what you're doing is what you're calling a computer is really God. A non-physical, It's just another word if you rob it of all the attributes that make it a computer.
See, William Lane Craig just totally smokes this guy, shows him for the fool that he is, and he's hit rock bottom now. And is he contrite and repentant? No, he's not, because this is what really motivates atheists: is they do not want there to be a God, so they will say anything as long as they do not have to acknowledge Jesus Christ as the second person in the Trinity and as the creator of this world and that he's coming again. They will say anything to avoid it. Okay? Just look at my online debates that have been recorded and look how the atheists conduct themselves. They will say and do anything but acknowledge Jesus Christ. No matter how ridiculous.
Darth, what's your best argument for God?
Yeah, man, I'm talking. Darth, I thought you rejected natural theology argument.
I wasn't appealing to natural theology. You're confusing natural theology with natural revelation.
No, the Kalam argument that you were just playing is natural theology.
No. I understand that. I'm just saying he smoked Walpert because Walpert has no rebuttal whatsoever.
Well, I know that, but you think Walpert's right.
What?
You think Walpert is right. You think the Kalam fails.
No. He doesn't. He wasn't actually offering a rebuttal to the Kalam here. Okay. What he's doing is he's just making up diversionary verbal crap in order not to accept the Kalam.
Well, I know that, but I'm just saying.
I'm not saying the Kalam. No, I'm not saying the Kalam is foolproof. I'm just saying in terms of a repertoire between the two of them, he just smoked Walpert in terms of reasoning. I'm not saying that he's definitively right. I'm not saying that there's not a weakness in the Kalam. I'm just saying as far as this guy's going, he got smoked. And he doesn't. He had. He has. You see. We're not gonna keep doing our conversations the way you did before. You're not going to keep on cutting me off in the middle of me responding. Are we clear?
Go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm saying to him is the Kalam is not foolproof, but from Walpert's perspective, he had no rebuttal. So the kind of reasoning that Craig used, although I would not strictly use it in that way, I would formulate it in a presuppositional manner, which Craig is not. Okay. Walpert was still smoked. He didn't have a rebuttal. So all he did was make up this crap as he goes along. Were you in here earlier when I played the video from Tyler making up crap?
I don't know who Tyler is. No, I wasn't here.
Okay, so you weren't in the room. So I played another video of an atheist lying through his teeth as an alternative to the Christian worldview, where he was just doing a parody of the Christian worldview. And I'm playing this video here because somebody else brought up something, showing here how here's another atheist who cannot respond to a powerful, even though it is a flawed argument, it's still extremely powerful in spite of it being flawed. Walpert had no actual rebuttal. So he resorted to making up crap in order to make God a superfluous explanation.
All right, so back to my question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Darth, what's your best argument for God?
That God has revealed himself through natural and special revelation. And there couldn't be any other line of reasoning. If we don't appeal to the revelatory actions of God, then we cannot establish God's existence. We could not account for God's existence apart from his revelation of himself. Okay? That's why the Bible says the heavens declare the glory of God, the psalmist wrote. Okay? That's why in Romans 1, Paul says, ever since the beginning of the creation of the world, God's eternal powers have been clearly seen through what has been made, so that men are without excuse. Okay? We can only posit and instantiate God by appealing to his revelatory actions, and without which we could not establish or instantiate God.
Okay. So, Darth, I was like born, raised a Catholic, right? I know you don't like Catholics.
My sympathies.
No, but listen, right now I'm non-denominational, right? So, like, how do we know like what denomination to go to? Like,
read your Bible.
All right. So, what are you?
I'm a Bible-believing Christian. How do I know the Catholic Church is not biblical? You asked me a question. You asked me a question.
No,
you asked me a question. All right, bye-bye. You're done. No. You keep cutting me off when you ask me a question. Next.
How does anyone know how Darth responds to the intentionality argument?
I think the guy just wanted to know which denomination you were a part of, Darth.
I attempted to answer him several times, and he kept on cutting me off.
What's the intentionality argument?
Well, it's just the idea, right? That it just seems that.
Okay, stop.
Oh, can you hear me?
Stop. What other screen name have you gone by?
It's Yuri.
Hold on. What was your screen name?
Yuri.
Yuri? Okay, bye-bye, Yuri. Yeah. Yeah, if that's the same Yuri that I've dealt with before, he's a troll.
He used to be like a Jack Angstray acolyte, then he took this like long... He did like what Gandalf did in Lord of the Rings. I guess he was away for like a year, and now he has some self-respect.
Yeah, he has a history of stalking behavior. Okay, somebody who stalks me from server to server, harasses. You don't get any opportunity to speak.
I think he's actually changed. I don't know. It's been like a year since he's been away. He might have changed. You might want to give him another chance.
No, these people rarely. Well, has he contacted me to repent of his stalking behavior? Good. Well,
I just know he's been gone.
When people engage in stalking behavior, stalking behavior on Discord or the internet, after it goes on a certain point and they get confronted and they don't repent of it, they can go pound sand, go to talk to somebody else.
Well, they all want to talk to you.
Well, too bad. When you stalk, you're not going to get to talk with me.
What do you think motivates these people to stalk you, of all people?
I think that the presentation of God's revelation, when it is presented in the way that it is, it cuts right through to all their bullshit and their conscience, and it drives them nuts, and that's why they become obsessed.
But ostensibly, they think you're stupid, right? So why are they trying
to
really?
Do they?
I said ostensibly.
You think they believe that?
I don't know. I'm saying ostensibly.
No, they don't. They don't think I'm stupid.
They say they do. That's what I mean. They claim.
Well, talk is cheap.
Well, I'm just curious what you think. Like, why do they want to get one over on you? Just because you're an internet personality?
Because they're reprobates.
I have actually never seen an atheist claiming that Darth is stupid. Do you have examples of where atheists have claimed that? Can you give an example? I've never heard it, and I am in the middle of atheists very commonly they talk about Darth. I don't remember ever one saying that Darth's arguments are stupid.
Well, it's not my fault if you have a bad memory.
So give an example, please.
You're so irritating, B3.
Well, that may be the case, and it may not be.
Oh, so you don't have, because you are not able to give an example.
I would not spend 2 seconds finding you an example of atheists calling Darth stupid. Everybody knows they do
you
that.
recall? Do you recall the username of any atheist who said publicly that I'm stupid?
Sure. The Troyer, Jack Angstreich, they all call you stupid.
Okay, yeah. Well, look at the source.
I'm not saying they're right. I'm just.
Okay. Well,
Why am I getting attacked?
what would you expect out of those two prevaricators?
What's
These
the
are not.
point? The
These
point
are.
is, like,
These are not.
why are
These
they,
are.
why are they
Look.
looking
These
to
are
talk
not.
to you?
These are not. These are not exemplars of good reasoning. These are two sophists. Okay. They are
Fine. That's not the
sophists.
point.
Okay. Good. So a couple of atheist sophists call me stupid. So what?
Do you think Darth is stupid?
Why are they trying to talk to you all the time if they think you're so stupid? That's all.
Okay.
Do you think Darth is stupid?
No, I don't think he's stupid. I think he's very intelligent.
No, they don't. They don't like the fact that the presentation of the revelation of God and its implications and ramifications destroys and annihilates all unbelief. That's what they don't like, because they desperately want God not to be true, especially the God of the Bible. Just like Christopher Hitchens. Were you present when I played the Christopher Hitchens video at all, where he says why he doesn't want there to be a God?
I think I remember what he said.
Yeah. The same thing that motivates him is the same thing that motivates Angstreich and Detroyer and the rest of the knuckle-dragging atheists in the usual atheist ghettos, okay, on Discord. They have no worldview. They have no worldview that they can defend. So how are they then able to deny the existence of God? How are they able to refute the Christian God when they have no defensible worldview? Because in order to deny the Christian God, you must present a worldview that is a contradiction to the Christian worldview. But they have no worldview to defend, so they are blowing smoke. They are bluffing.
Art, what is the thing that you see atheists are most complaining about you?
They don't like my aggressive style when I'm dealing with obnoxious atheists.
You think you
that I'm aggressive?
style?
Yeah, I'm aggressive when people start behaving very badly toward me, because I'm a grown man. I'm not going to put up with their bad behavior toward me. It's interesting that these atheists want to complain about me, yet they do not complain about their compatriots who behave very badly. Okay?
I agree with that.
Okay?
Sure.
They're dead silent. They are absolute hypocrites.
Well, I find it all very mysterious.
Look, for years, I was far more tolerant and patient with their antics. I'm not anymore, because they're wasting my time when they troll, they obfuscate, they misdirect, they lie, and they prevaricate, all as a tactic to avoid actual adult debates. I have many long interactions and debates on a weekly basis, week in and week out, with people who do not engage in prevarication and obfuscation and being deceitful in a conversation. Okay? And you don't hear me getting upset with them. Okay? You don't hear me calling them names. But once they go into the realm of lying, deceiving, prevaricating, right? Then I do call them names, because those names are well deserved, and I don't put up with it. Okay?
But do you think sometimes it would be productive to be a little bit more patient, even if they are prevaricating?
I have been. I am vastly more patient than I was more patient then, and I've grown increasingly less patient, because they're wasting my time. They're lying to me. They're prevaricating. Antangelo, is there a certain number of atheists who purposely engaged in a dialectic with me, and they're purposely lying to me, and they're obfuscating and prevaricating? Is there a good number of atheists that do that?
I'm sorry. I was just asking my daughter to lower the cell phone, so I didn't listen to you. Sorry.
Are there a good number of atheists who are act deceitful and in bad faith with me?
Well, they are always with me as well.
Okay, good. Well, I don't have patience for that anymore, and I'm going to call them out for it. And am I going to get angry? You're damn right it's because they're wasting my time. They're wasting my time. They can go pound sand, okay? They are not honest interlocutors. They are deceivers. Check out my most recent interaction with Oz on YouTube. He was patently prevaricating, obfuscating, and being deceptive and playing the definitional game, okay? Why? It's because they intellectually cannot defend their atheism and they cannot intellectually defend their denial of Christianity. So they pull these antics.
Oz has no substance. He has no arguments. So he is a very shallow interlocutor.
We just did a review. We just did a review yesterday of his so-called atheist testimony of why he's an atheist. When you listen to the whole thing, never once did we hear a rationale why it is that God does not exist. Not once.
Of course.
This is how shallow
emotional.
This is how shallow this guy is. Okay.
99% of them are shallow. You will hardly find one that has a good philosophical, theological, and scientific education and is able to substantiate his atheism on good arguments.
Do you remember how you were treated? Hold on a second. Otangelo, do you remember how you were treated when you went on the Atheist Roundtable by Oz, the guy who looks like a Billy Joel reject, and Pasta Mike? Remember how they treated you? Remember that the guy who looks like son of Billy Joel? I think his name is Nate. It was Nate, Oz, and Pasta Mike. You remember how badly they treated you?
As I said, they have no substance.
Do you remember how badly they treated you? I do.
Yeah, I mean, I had so many interactions, so I don't remember.
Yet these same guys have a Discord channel, and they also have a YouTube show, and they have rules about that people are going to act like adults. And they did not treat you like an adult. They treated you like they were snot-nosed teenagers who were potheads, right? And yet they have rules on their own YouTube channel about how people are to conduct themselves.
They use a double standard, sure.
Yeah. And in the Pasta Mike, all he did was use ridicule, sarcasm, and scorn directed towards you. By the way, he defines atheism as not the denial of God, but that's the lack of belief in God. Yet his channel is called Normalizing Atheism. So he wants to normalize a lack of belief. I mean, that's just weird. Okay? Look, they cannot defend what they really believe. So they have to put on a Halloween costume. They got to dress up and drag that there's something that they're really not. Like, oh, they're undecided. They're just unconvinced. Does anybody think that these guys at the Atheist they're undecided. They're just unconvinced. Does anybody think that these guys at the Atheist